Two airmen vanished into thin air after performing their mission. Nobody knows the truth till now. It all happened on a blustery November evening in 1953, somewhere in North America's Great Lakes region. A U.S. Air Force radar screen caught an unexpected object. Two airmen were sent to investigate this uncanny mystery and hopefully unravel it. But when the two approached the anomaly, something unthinkable happened. And in fact, the truth remains murky till these days. First Lieutenant Felix Monclaw was one of these two men who were dispatched to take a closer look at the unexpected object. And he had really years of experience, having more than 800 hours of flying time. Monclaw worked at Truax Air Force Base in Madison, Wisconsin, and along with his superiors were confident he would succeed in his mission. The experienced airmen and Second Lieutenant Robert Wilson set off in pursuit of the unknown object on a craft called the F-89 Scorpion. When they started coming closer to their destination, being thousands of feet above the lake's dark waters, something mysterious happened that defies a lot of expectations. You see, Monclaw, Wilson, and their craft simply vanished into thin air. It was an unexplainable tragedy that their superiors struggled to uncover. Even though there were a lot of versions of what happened that fateful night, the truth still remains unknown. Is it the work of a government conspiracy trying to hide a terrifying alien encounter? Or is it something a little more usual? Well, it would be better to judge the facts first. On the evening of November 23, 1953, the weather conditions were far from ordinary. Performing a mission was not a great idea at all. What's more, there is no concrete information. According to some reports, snow was falling, while other sources claim the weather was stormy. However, something unexpected happened in the region just after 6 p.m. At that night, an operator noticed something unusual on the radar. An unknown object appeared to be near the commercial hub of Sioux Locks on the southeastern shore of Lake Superior. Nevertheless, there was neither American nor Canadian craft cleared to be in the area at the time. Was this a UFO? Officials were baffled and decided to act. They took an F-89 Scorpion jet that was temporarily located on Kinross Air Force Base, around 20 miles from Sioux Locks. Typically, it was stationed 400 miles away at Truax Air Force Base. However, it would never come back down south. When the jet was relocated, Monclaw and Wilson set off to Michigan. The first lieutenant had over 120 hours of flying experience and was in the pilot's seat at that point. The 27-year-old man initially was a doctor, but left his profession to join the military 3 years previously. Turning back to that evening, the two were soon in hot pursuit. However, it seemed not that easy as they thought. The unknown entity darted swiftly from place to place. Luckily, a radar operator on the ground assisted Monclaw and Wilson as they gave chase. He watched the screen as the craft was slowly descending from 25,000 feet to just 7,000 feet, and in a while, the F-89 finally gained ground. The airmen had tracked the strange craft for some 160 miles, and when the mission seemed to be solved, something out of the ordinary happened. According to witness reports, the two blips on the radar somehow united together as one. Local Madison paper, the Capital Times, later did its best to make some sense out of this peculiar occurrence, publishing an article that said, "The Truax jet was followed on the radar screen at Kinross until its image merged with that of the plane it was checking." After that, Monclaw and Wilson's jet disappeared without any trace. Later, an official report would state that the F-89's radar signal had simply vanished. What's more, the blip pointing at the unknown craft swerved off course before also vanishing into thin air. The officials were sincerely baffled and didn't know what next step to take. In a while, the U.S. military started searching for the missing airmen. There was an extensive search of the area by both boat and plane, but to no avail. Both men, along with their craft, seemed to have disappeared off the face of our planet. Since the officials had to give some explanation, their press release was quickly written to the Associated Press. It included the details that explained what had happened right before the appearance. The F-89 was followed by radar until it merged with an object 70 miles off Keyhoe Point in Upper Michigan. The statement read, "Nevertheless, when the officials started to backtrack the story, the details had changed. In a second statement, they had shown absolutely another version. It said that the radar operator had been mistaken, and the two airmen had actually completed their mission, successfully intercepting the unknown object. The officials stated that this object was in fact a C-47 aircraft, also known as a Dakota, that belonged to the Royal Canadian Air Force. They explained it had swerved 30 miles off course and thus appeared in restricted airspace. The statement also claimed Monclaw and Wilson had only encountered trouble after their run-in with the other plane. Seemingly, Monclaw got dizzy when coming back to Kinross Air Force Base, and this emergency had then caused him to crash the craft into Lake Superior. However, soon after that, holes began to appear, and the officials in Canada said there weren't any of their crafts in that area at that time. After that, the events got even murkier. UFO researcher Donald Keyhoe wrote 2 books about this mysterious occasion, where he mentioned that different representatives of the U.S. Air Force had visited Monclaw's widow. The first one claimed the pilot had been flying at the incorrect altitude. Due to this mistake and the plane's closeness to the lake, the accident happened. However, another individual had absolutely another story. He said the F-89 had exploded high in the air above the lake. In the middle of this uncertainty, various rumors started to circulate. Had the airmen met something out of this world? Of course, this theory might sound ridiculous now, but Monclaw and Wilson's whereabouts remained a mystery for years. Even though in 1968 the report stated that some wreckage which might have possibly belonged to this military jet had been found, there is no solid proof it's true. So what actually happened to the airmen? Well, Keyhoe had his own thoughts. In his book, The Flying Saucer Conspiracy, the writer theorized about the valid reason for the airmen's vanishing. As you might have guessed, he suggested that the missing F-89 had faced an alien craft. An interesting fact is that Keyhoe himself was a former Marine Corps aviator. He recalled a rumor at around the time that Monclaw and Wilson had disappeared, which said that an F-89 from Kinross was hit by a flying saucer. When he looked deeper into that version, the man discovered that the U.S. Air Force had asserted a Canadian plane, not an alien craft, had been the reason for the incident. Despite all these statements, some people were still convinced that a UFO had somehow been involved in Monclaw and Wilson's vanishing. What's more, Keyhoe found a copy of an official Air Force document concerning the case, and it was enthralling. It was an interview with a witness of the incident who watched the radar at that moment. The unnamed witness said, "It seems incredible, but the blip apparently just swallowed our F-89. However, it wasn't all." Keyhoe tracked down the members of Project Blue Book, the official U.S. Air Force team dedicated to researching UFOs. He had an opportunity to discuss with them this strange incident, and they said something that made him even more convinced something odd had happened that fateful night. The team explained that the 1953 case was just one of many similar mysterious occurrences. Yet the official report on what's been named the Kinross incident continued to toe the line. The documents claimed Monclaw and Wilson had died in the accident, and there was no mention of the aliens. However, the case got even thicker when researchers from the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NICAP, made another alarming finding. The group got in touch with the Aerospace Technical Intelligence Center to deny that the Kinross incident had ever happened. The report said there is no record in the Air Force files of any sighting of Kinross Air Force Base on November 23, 1953. There is no case in the files which even closely parallels these circumstances. It's no wonder such evasions did little to dispel suspicion surrounding the incident. Thus, in a while, amateur UFO hunters began to think up their ideas on what had happened to Monclaw and Wilson's aircraft. Perhaps the two were kidnapped by the object they were pursuing. According to this version, their jet was picked up mid-air by an alien craft. Some people even went further by coming up with ideas on the purpose of such a kidnapping. Maybe they took Monclaw and Wilson to sharpen up their English skills. Who knows? Another suggestion was that the strange vision in the sky had been a UFO projected by some kind of force field. And when the F-89 unintentionally flew into the object, it hit that wall and crashed into it. So maybe there was an accident, but not because of pilot error. Monclaw and Wilson's disappearance remains a mystery. Even though many people desire to know the truth, neither official nor amateur investigators have been able to reveal it. And of course, a lot of users have been wondering about the mysterious incident on different forums such as Reddit. One Reddit user suggested it all happened due to the mystery of the Great Lakes Triangle, an anomaly similar to the Bermuda Triangle. They mentioned this region has reportedly seen a number of boats and planes disappear in strange circumstances over the years. It's believed this area is rich in high levels of iron ore, which makes the navigation equipment go wrong. However, there is also a hole in this theory. You see, the Great Lakes Triangle is located in Lake Michigan, 250 miles south of where Monclaw and Wilson vanished into thin air. And okay, if broken navigation equipment was the reason for the crash, what was the other blip that had appeared on the radar at Kinross Air Force Base? Another user offered a more prosaic explanation for the incident. They said the jet was a tweak-and-go model that involved a lot of trial and error and fallen prey to several fatal accidents. There is a suggestion the two airmen had been victims of a more predictable crash. Even though this version sounds logical, there is no place for the second blip on the radar. What's more, a trained operator should have been able to tell the difference between aviation life, such as a bird, which the Reddit user suggested the second blip was, and an unknown craft. While the things remained a secret in 2006, a Canadian newspaper named the Pembroke Observer published a detailed article about the Kinross incident, calling it one of the most enduring mysteries of the Great Lakes. In a while, Francis Ridge, a well-known researcher of flying saucers, got a peculiar email. The email contained the information from a news story that claimed that Monclaw and Wilson's jet had been found at the bottom of Lake Superior by a team of divers. There was also a link to the site of the responsible group called the Great Lakes Dive Company. Since this news began to spread, a spokesman for the group named Adam Jimenez gave interviews to reporters. What's more, there were also underwater photographs published on the Great Lakes Dive Company's website that supported that claim. However, later, things started taking a turn. Supposedly, the divers also found ruins of a UFO alongside the wreckage of the F-89. For those who are UFO enthusiasts, the full version seemed too great to be true. And it really was. When the researchers kept on getting to the nitty-gritty, it appeared that the Great Lakes Dive Company was actually fake. Jimenez disappeared too, which led most observers to wrap up the discovery had been nothing more than an elaborate fraud. Nowadays, it seems like there are no new leads on Monclaw and Wilson's disappearance, and no chances the truth would be revealed. Yet life is always unpredictable and has its own twists. You see, in 2020, the Pentagon renewed the conversation about UFOs by bringing to the public previously classified footage showing unknown aerial phenomena. So, is it possible some top-secret files in government archives can have the key to the truth about the Kinross incident? Well, only time and life's unpredictability will tell.